if we want to move over to some good news, though, we do have a rumor, and this is a capital R under the rumor category. But apparently, there could be an Alita, and apparently there will be an Alita battle.
So they're exploring the Alita Battle Angel sequel.
They're exploring the Alita Battle Angel sequel.
Let's face it. There was just backing up a little bit. Alita did pretty well, but not well enough to, in and of itself, merit financially a sequel. But it's got a diehard fan base that I consider myself a part of, that have really been pushing for it. If the beer bug hadn't hit the way it had, that resulted in the closure of whatever theater chain it is, Royal or Regal or whatever it's called, they were going to re-release Alita Battle Angel. And what happens with a re-release? You just add that to your bottom line. That takes whatever your box office is and increases it by this new release. That's why the original Star Wars is as big as it is, because it got re-release after re-release in the days before home media. So they were going to re-release Alita Battle Angel, and so Disney, who now owns Alita, is looking at it going, well, if there's that much demand for it, maybe there is worth it, because they're desperate. They're looking for anything that might bring them some money.
I will say this about Disney: we often get down on them, as far as being one of the worst studios. But I actually have a different take. I think that they are learning. Maybe
they haven't got a choice if they want to stay in business.
And I'm some ways I'm more hopeful for them than other Hollywood studios right now. I can't. Maybe that doesn't make sense.
You're being very pragmatic about it, and I think that's fine. If you get overly cynical, you're also not being realistic. Okay, I keep saying this. Whatever your bias is on either side, there's still the absolutes of finance. If a company fails, it all ends. They cannot allow that to happen. It's a publicly traded company. I happen to be a shareholder. There are realities that come with that. Your ideals mean nothing if your business goes out of business, right?
Gotcha.
So they are starting to look at those kinds of things, especially when you look at behind the scenes and you go, well, where is the Captain Marvel sequel? What is all this talk that I'm hearing about them minimizing the participation of Brie Larson? Gee, sounds an awful lot like they're listening to the bottom line.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, you're roboting a little, which might be appropriate for a talk of Alita Battle Angel.
Sorry about that.
It's okay, it happens. I can still make you out what you're saying, though. I think Brie Larson has a public relations problem. I don't know how her YouTube channel is going. I haven't been keeping track.
It's not doing well. Yeah. It's been dropping off. There are sites that I don't know about, but Netter goes to and looks and sees how our favorite YouTubers are doing, and they calculate how much money they're bringing in. And she started out unrealistically strong, and it has literally dropped since then. Yeah, she's not doing well at all. Nobody cares. Even her fans don't care about her show anymore.
Yeah. So, But apparently this Alita Battle Angel news came from insider Daniel Rickman. And this was from the website Full Circle Cinema. And he said the film was met with poor reviews from critics and audiences, but has since drawn a cult following. I want to address this, okay? It was met with poor reviews from the shill media, okay? Yep. The film critics I listened to liked the movie, okay? Mark Kermo, the BBC guy, I believe he liked Alita Battle Angel. I mean, this was not considered a bad movie by most mainstream critics. This was I'll be blunt, I'm going to call a spade a spade. I think a lot of the criticism for Alita Battle Angel came from websites and others, the stuff owned by Disney.
Yep.
One of the worst things they did to that movie, and I understood it was a dirty trick. They were predicting bad box office for Alita Battle Angel before it came out. All these sites were saying that. And I think what that did, it puts in the mind of a moviegoer, well, it's not going to do well at the box office. And even though they're not saying it's a bad movie, I think when you say something's going to do bad at the box office, it's like, well, maybe I'll wait for video. Like it doesn't.
Yeah.
It kind of puts like it puts something in you. I don't know what it is, and it's yeah.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I'll take it even further. This was Disney, and again, it was this odd alignment of situations. You can't look at Alita outside of its perceived competition with Captain Marvel. And it was very clear that Disney wanted to push Captain Marvel, and they were going to do so at the expense of Alita Battle Angel, which makes no sense because it was still their own property, even though it was an acquired property. Back then, they had the autonomy to make stupid decisions like that, the short-sighted decisions. They don't have that luxury anymore. They need every dollar they can get. And if Alita Battle Angel is going to make money for them now, they need to take advantage of that. And they are seeing more and more clearly that they backed the wrong horse with Captain Manhater.
Yeah. Uh, I actually ended up seeing Captain Marvel in the theaters. Did you know that? And I'm not going to lie, it felt like it felt like I was seeing a rather nice TV movie in the theater. It didn't feel like it had the budget that the other Marvel movies had. It felt like it felt more restrained in a lot of the ways.
Yeah. If you need something to do as well as they needed it to do, they did not put the effort into it. They let it coast. They let Brie Larson get away with her BS, and they were fine with it, and they didn't rein her in, and they didn't put the effort into the story that they needed to, and they just assumed that by putting it between the two big tentpole films, it was gonna, and it kind of worked for them. It did pull a profit,
Yeah.
more so than it ever had a business doing because of how it was placed. But the reaction to it was not what they wanted, and the outcry and the fact that everything else seems to be tanking, the fact that our toys are just peg warmers, it's hysterical. You go look at what is in the Target and the Walmart budget bin, being liquidated, and it's a bunch of Captain Marvel stuff, Wonder Woman toys. Well, let's face it, Wonder Woman 84, because the toys were put out and the movie hasn't even hit. That was a bust in marketing. Rose Tico and all the other sequel trilogy toys. I mean, I'm telling you, people need to understand that the money doesn't come from how well a movie does. It comes from how well the toys sell.
Yeah, but I am going to say this too. I mean, I don't know who the market was for the Wonder Woman toys. If you're going to be buying a Wonder Woman toy and you're a kid, you're buying it because you just saw the new movie and you want the toy for it, right?
Yeah.
And it'd be like me and a kid when Star Wars is out, and I got a Space 1999 shuttle, and I'm like, what is this thing? I mean, I learned about Space 1999 many years later, but at the time I didn't know what this was. So
exactly. There's a lot of people that have said that Star Wars did very, very well, and the toys did very, very well.
Yeah.
If one or the other hadn't, there wouldn't have been sequels.
Yeah.
It was because both did so well that we had the sequels that we did with all the marketing that went into it. Now, one could also argue that that's why some of the bad decisions were made in Return of the Jedi. People didn't care for the Ewoks. Well, the Ewoks were specifically for marketing reasons.
I don't like to think about that, but you're probably right. Back to the drawing board. I'm going to prognosticate Cameron is so off the source material, and now he's going to default to standard Hollywood storylines if there is a sequel. Well, yeah, I had a friend complaining about Alita being in the rollerball in the first part of the story, and she hadn't even read any Alita, but she could tell that was something that didn't make sense for her character to be doing. But I don't know. I still like the movie, but I do worry though if there is a sequel, especially if Disney's getting their mitts in, will it end up being something that's watered down than what we would have gotten?
I am going to defend Cameron a little bit. Cameron did this with the intention that it wasn't going to be a standalone movie, that it was going to be an ongoing thing.
Yeah.
And when you take a whole series and you go, okay, now we're going to turn this into a movie. I would make this argument if someone made some, if let's say the Denuve, or however you pronounce his name, Dune movie. Okay, if they introduce some elements from future books into earlier movies, I'm not going to hold that against him, because that's somebody who looks at the whole timeline and says there's some things that were added later on that aren't very organic in the way the original author did it. Rollerball or whatever existed in the Alita world before she got involved in it, and she's going to get involved into it, so let's seed it into the beginning so it's more organic. That's not bad storytelling. you know the example I would draw is the introduction of the Bene Tlaxu in the Dune franchise in later books. Why were they never mentioned previously? Well, because the author hadn't thought of them before. Well, that's kind of bad storytelling. If you're going to go back and tell the whole story, you're going to weave them in earlier so it's more organic.
Yeah, I think the complaint though is that in the books, her joining up with Rollerball was a reaction in dealing with Hugo's death. She doesn't want to be a hunter warrior anymore. She's going to do the Rollerball thing now. At least that's what I've heard. I need to read the manga. I actually did buy that when it came out. I don't know if I mentioned this on the stream before. I felt bad when remember when the professor was showing off his expensive box set?
Yes.
And I told him to do a video for the unboxing because maybe you'll get your money back for buying it, because I was like,
exactly.
I ended up getting the entire hardcover manga set, which came with 2 lithographs itself, the Blu-ray, and I think also the art book for $50 less than what he paid for the thing he got. Which I didn't want to tell that to him at the time. Maybe he's not. Hopefully he's not listening.
well, so. And the other thing that I was going to say about that is, and I struggle with this because I'm usually a purist about source material, but there is something, and the professor and I have both talked about this, how different media requires different storytelling.
Yeah.
What works visually, and I brought this up in a big way when I was talking about the David Lynch interpretation of Dune. There are things that he added for marketing reasons because the studio pushed him to it, but also for story reasons. The whole hair color for Jessica and the Harkonnens and stuff, and the new one is going to have the Harkonnens be bald specifically so as to not tip the hat on something that is not obvious in a book, but would be overly obvious in a visual medium, right? You do have to think about things like that.
Right.
So as they take something that's manga, and turn it into a movie for an American audience, you have to think about different style of storytelling. You can't be 100% faithful. I'm sorry, but not everyone in the United States is going to respond to a perfectly adapted manga. They're just not. It's a different audience.
But I am going to say this, at least because I used to go. But what was I going to say though? I used to I wasn't familiar with the manga, but I did watch the original anime, and I was actually, I've seen other anime adaptations by Hollywood, and I think Alita is by far the best one I've seen, as far as, only because I remember seeing Ghost in the Shell, and
sure.
That didn't work, and I kind of wanted it to work too, but yeah.
I am not a huge anime fan.
Right.
So I would be that kind of an audience that is going to
Right.
go see a movie and enjoy it and go, sorry, I don't see what you're saying. Right.
Right.
I have seen at least some of the anime version of Alita, and it falls into what I perceive of anime is, I get the basic story, but it seems kind of robotic to me. I don't necessarily always feel the characterization of some of these characters.
Well, yeah, I'll say this: all anime is different. Like an OVA from like the late '80s, early '90s is going to be different than like a big production by Studio Ghibli.
Sure.
It's as wide as and varied as anything else. And like I said, I'm not even saying you have to get into anime, but I'm just saying that so, people can have different tastes in anime, like they'll have different tastes in anything else. Like some people might like something by this studio or this creator, and not like something by something else.
Yeah. So back to the drawing board is saying that you're correct in the problem of it adapting. The problem is Cameron has also warped the characters. There's no way Alita can grow or tell the same story as her manga counterpart. I agree with you, back to the drawing board, but I'm also saying that if they did try to adapt the manga counterpart exactly, I don't think the audience would, here in the United States, would respond to it as well as they have. I love the character that we got in Alita. I fell in love with that character. As I could totally see it from Doc Ito's point of view, the father adopting the daughter kind of a thing. I would not have that response to the Alita that I see in the anime, So there are elements of drama that are worked in by Cameron because he does understand storytelling. When he gets it right, he really gets it right. So I'm always going to defend that particular interpretation of Alita. I'm sorry, I just happen to be the boisterous majority here in the States that aren't going to get upset about its absolutely faithful interpretation.
I will say this: all this talk though is reminding me I really need to read this manga set I have on the shelf. So
yeah.
And what else did I want to say though? But apparently, Alita, where Alita did very well, better than the United States. It did well in China.
See, there's a great example of when you do a movie that doesn't upset either side. If you can please everybody, freaking please everybody. And if you please the mass market in China and you please the mass market in the United States, and you lose the small minority of faithful diehard anime fans, I'm sorry, you have a commercial hit, and that's what's going to sell.
Okay. But I think I have a note here, though. For me, it's don't hold your breath, because I want this to happen, but everything's
that was the underlying thing. It does smack of being a sensationalistic article that is based on almost nothing. It comes back to all that we've been saying all along. The fans have been crossing their fingers, hoping for a sequel, and are holding their breath and doing everything. The elite army is mobilized and will do anything they can to make it happen. But,
I think what we do know about it, though, is that at least it's being discussed.
Exactly.